Like I had an appointment to be here at 2 o'clock today to give this presentation to y'all. I put in the GPS in my car, and it took me literally on a tour of your campus. But now that I'm here, I know that, tomorrow I won't need to remember all of this. Where are the keys? Oh, they're on the table. Deb, remember where your keys are. I have an electric car. Deb, is your car fully charged? Yes. These are things that they're very important, but I don't need to put them in my long-term memory. Have y'all ever thought about phone numbers? Why phone numbers are divided the way they are? You've got the area code, the prefix, and the suffix, right? Divided into little kind of bursts of numbers. It's because it's easier for us to remember numbers when they're in little groups like that. Have you noticed if you ever order anything with your credit card, it divides the numbers on your card into like groups of 4 and 5? It's because it's easier for us to remember. Oh, it is important if the next door neighbors are on vacation to feed the cat. Now that's extremely important. You won't need to know that a week from now when they get back from their vacation that you're hoping you're going to get a really good gift from. But right now it's very important, oh come on, to the cat. I mean, what's a good presentation without a puppy and a kitten? So you're just going to be waiting for that puppy picture now. Okay. Excuse me. So long-term memory is more how to do things, how to drive the car, how to play certain games. As my mother would say, niceties, like how to brush our teeth, getting dressed. I love the thing that's just up there that says sports, so I guess it's whatever sport you're most interested in. And it also includes our vocabulary. So this is kind of, if you will, the tapestry of who we are, our manners, the driving rules, names of families and friends. And as we get older, we may struggle sometimes with these names. The good news is it's perfectly normal to struggle with some of these. So what's normal and what's not? And then there's something right in the middle called the gray zone, and we refer to that as mild cognitive impairment. Now this is going to be the most refreshing slide you see all day. And you know what? I see some of y'all taking notes. If it's okay, I'll just send these slides. And so you don't have to take notes, just relax and listen. And as far as I'm concerned, you can have the whole slides. This is going to be the best slide we look at because it's what all of us do. Sometimes forgetting a name. My dad was the worst in the world, and he was that way his entire life. But he had my mom, who had this freakishly photographic memory, and she could remember the names of anybody they'd ever met. And so she would always kind of be whispering in his ear if they went to a party or something, who that was. But the fact that people forget names, that's normal. You get a little more confused when you're doing too many things at once. It takes a little more time and effort to learn new things. Now you notice it does not say as we age we cannot learn, and I'm right in your way, and I'm so sorry. You cannot look right through me. Okay, I'm sorry. You can't look through muddy water, I've been told. So, I'm sorry, but you're going to get these slides. I'll give you your own personal presentation. It doesn't say that we can't learn new things as we age. It just may take a little bit more effort. And I'm going to give you an example. Our son was dating a girl from Italy. He was so excited because he was going to be meeting her parents for the very first time. He crunched to start learning Italian. Now you have to understand the dynamics of our family. We have 4 children. The youngest, we were supposed to have 3 children, but the youngest were twins, so we have 4. And we are, I don't know how to say it, we tease each other just mercilessly. We're just always trying to get one over on the other, and that includes Mom. So he said, Mom, I want you to learn Italian with me so we can have a total underground conversation around everybody else. And I said, oh, I'm down for that. And I did. Now, the thing is, I didn't have, he had the benefit of 30 years on me, And I also didn't have the strong motivation that he did because he was going to be meeting the parents of this young lady. But I learned it, and we had our underground conversations and drove the rest of the family crazy, which was really all we wanted to do. All right, have you ever walked into a room and couldn't remember why? Well, do you notice? It's on the normal slide. But usually all we have to do to kind of regain that task is walk out of the room and you go, oh yeah, I meant to pick up my clicker. That's normal. And you're not always able to remember things. You kind of say it's on the tip of my tongue. What is that? And then later you think about it and you can't wait to call your friend up and say, oh, by the way, I remembered, blah, blah, blah. This to me is so refreshing because this is just normal memory. And we're going to talk about what's not normal. I don't know if we're going to do it or not. Let's see. Okay, so this is not normal memory. I'm feeling confused most of the time. I'm getting lost and turned around in very familiar places. Now, I'm not talking about going on vacation to the beach, maybe to a house you just go to once or twice a year. I'm talking about driving from home to church or home to the grocery store. You know, very familiar places. Oftentimes, this is the family's first clue that something's going on with grandma or grandpa or mom or dad, is that they get a phone call from this person saying, I'm lost, and they're in their own neighborhood. Parts of conversations are repeated more often than usual. Now, we all know people who talk just to hear ourselves talk, and it's not that. It's just that they continue to tell you the same thing over and over. By this time, family and friends have noticed a complete difference in my behavior, in my ability to manage my life, and certainly with my memories. Difficulty managing daily tasks, and I'm not talking about doing your taxes once a year. I'm talking about remembering to eat, or remembering to be dressed appropriately for the occasion. So it would be like if I showed up here today in a big fur woolly coat. Well, that's not really dressed appropriately for our North Carolina spring. And it could be, well, wow, something's going on. Loss of interest in hobbies and usual activities. Now, how many in here play bunco or bridge or something like that where you play with a team? Okay, not very many. So I always try to think of examples because it could be maybe your dinner partner. If y'all have a group that you like to eat dinner with or like to socialize with, if you've noticed that maybe someone from that group is not coming as often as usual, well, it could be that maybe they forgot what time it is, or maybe they kind of got their feelings hurt when you teased me. And I'm going to use you as an example because we were college roommates, okay? And we were best friends. We're best friends. And now all of a sudden, I'm just forgetting dumb stuff. But you know, we're best friends, so it's okay for you to tease me because I've been teasing you ever since graduation, right? But now all of a sudden, I have memory problems. I may have the early stages of Alzheimer's or dementia. And now when you tease me, which you're perfectly welcome to do, it hurts my feelings because I don't remember that we've been best friends for 30 years. I don't remember that. So when you see people kind of falling away from your normal, usual group, do something or say something. And it could be say something to that person that I've missed seeing you. And maybe you'll find out why he or she has not been as regular as they normally have been. But these are really important things for y'all to be aware of for people around you. So what is this gray zone? It's called mild cognitive impairment. And if anyone has ever received that diagnosis, it does not mean you are on the fast track to develop Alzheimer's. It means you're having some memory concerns, some memory problems. Now, a lot of these people that have MCI may still be working, but they are really struggling. Where things, everybody in this room, you can just, you remember things, remember dates, remember events, fun things that are going on your campus. You can remember those like the back of your hand. But somebody with MCI, if you walk into their home or an office or something, you could find that wall just plastered with Post-it notes as reminders or prompts for them. Now remember, the 4th of July party is going to be on Saturday instead of Sunday this year. Things that they are trying to remind themselves of. People are feeling overwhelmed because they're working so hard just to feel like they're normal or just to appear that they still have normal thinking. They know that something's not right, that they are really struggling, but they don't know exactly what that is or why. I'm going to feel a little more irritable or short-fused because I'm exhausted. I'm working really hard to remember things where, again, for all of you, it's just second nature. I'm more stressed than usual. And again, a good example of that would be, I have 2 little wild grandsons, and they are wild as March hares, and I love it. I love them, and I love the fact that we have a big time together. And when they come over to see us, they hit that front door and they are running for my arms. And if I don't catch them, they're just going to go flying into the air. But I catch them, and we spin around and we have fun, and I've taught these kids how to jump on the bed. I'm the greatest aunt ever. But the rules are, when people's children come over to our house, is I say, you can jump on the bed at my house only when I'm holding your hand, because I'm going to show you the good places to jump where you can jump the highest, right? So I'm that kind of grandmother, right? And I look forward to them coming, and it's loud, and it's a circus. But how different would it be if I looked to my husband and say, oh my goodness, are those grandkids coming over again? I can't take it. I just can't take it. You're going to have to entertain them because it's too much for me. Now, what have you seen? A complete change in my personality, right? I may have always been kind of cross and crotchety, but that's not my norm. My norm is open arms and big old smiles. But if all of a sudden I started acting differently, that's a sign that something's changing. Something's changing in my memory, something's changing in my personality. But if someone has a diagnosis of MCI, it's the very best time to get involved. Because according to our geriatricians, oftentimes the memory decline can, if not be totally stopped, can certainly be slowed down a good bit. Because when you come into Wake Forest to get involved in any of our studies, you will have the most comprehensive physical and mental checkup you have ever had in your life. And the reason I'm saying this is because oftentimes people may get that MCI diagnosis when all it really is some of your medications working against each other. And we tell you that. Now, we don't change the medication, but we will tell you, go back to your physician, tell them what we have said. We will share information with them with your permission. But oftentimes, it's medication that's working against your memory. And so what we encourage you to do is have that conversation with your doctor to find out what else can I take for whatever condition it is that won't have the same negative impact on your memory. So these are the types of things that we find that we can help people with. So who's at risk for developing memory concerns and Alzheimer's? All of us. Alzheimer's has never, ever, ever been diagnosed by anyone in their 20s. Most no one in their 30s. There are two different types of Alzheimer's. There is early onset, which usually affects people in their 40s, early 50s. Then there's what we call a normal onset, age-related onset, that's 65 plus. If someone in your family develops it late in life, the better news for you is that it doesn't have as much of a genetic connection to you as if they develop it very early in life. When people develop it early in life, there is a very strong family connection. And you don't need to worry about aunts and uncles and cousins as much as you do parents and grandparents, because it's more of that linear line. And if they developed it later in life, then again, it's more of our lifestyle choices and things that hopefully we can do something to control. People with a certain family history, again, particularly a parent or grandparent, people with a certain genetic profile, there are families in Central America that every single person in the family develops Alzheimer's. And we lost one of our best research physicians at Wake to go and study these families, because what she's trying to learn is the cause of that. Everyone in the family develops. People with certain untreated medical conditions, and we're going to talk about that. I'm going to be the worst nag you have ever met, because we're going to talk about these medical conditions. People of certain ethnicities. Did you know our Hispanic neighbors and friends are 1.5 times more likely to develop Alzheimer's than Caucasians? And our African American neighbors are twice as likely to develop Alzheimer's as Caucasians, and we don't know why. That's why we're so focused in our research in including as many different people, men, women, black, brown, as we possibly can. Excuse me. And also people who live in more rural communities. Because just because you don't live, 30 minutes away from a world-class research institution doesn't mean you shouldn't have access to the information that we learn. And the tips that we are learning can decrease your risk for developing Alzheimer's. And then for some people, we have no idea why they develop it. They had no Alzheimer's in their family, they've been living a very healthy life, and they develop Alzheimer's. And all of these things are what we're trying so hard to zero in on. Because if we can find the major causes, then that's going to lead us to treatments, and hopefully, I'm 66 and I'm still given a money-back guarantee. We're going to have answers in my lifetime. I promise you that. Because I see what's happening over at Wake. I see how we're coming together with researchers from all over the world who are bringing in these novel ideas, and it's giving us these visions of a treatment that maybe we never thought about before. I'm sorry, I just want to make sure that everyone can hear, and you're not going to throw anything at me from sitting over there. Okay, because I could probably throw this and teach you. Okay, just think it. Anyway, the thing is, that's why we're trying so hard at Wake to do what we're doing, because we want to get to the bottom of this. And I promise you, the researchers that are there have dedicated not just their careers, but their lives to this. And so I have faith, and it's not a blind faith. I know how hard they're working, and I know how smart these people are. So let's talk about these untreated medical conditions. Now this is where the mother in me comes out. Because if you have any of these conditions, but you are really Johnny on the spot for keeping them within your healthy numbers, then having these do not increase your risk, okay? So, high blood pressure. Remember, what's good for your heart is good for your brain. Same thing with high blood pressure. Bad for your heart, bad for your brain. Diabetes. My husband is a diabetes MD, PhD, so he's a researcher and a clinician. The reason we moved to North Carolina 9 years ago is for his research in diabetes and how having untreated diabetes greatly increases your risk for developing Alzheimer's. Sleep apnea. What in the world? Why in the world would that affect Alzheimer's? Well, have y'all heard of plaque in the brain? Have y'all heard that term? Well, guess what? All of us have plaque in our brain. It's perfectly normal. The problem is having an excess of plaque in our brain. So what does sleep apnea have to do with that? If you're not getting your sleep, and I'm saying 7 to 8 hours of solid sleep, that's when your body kind of hits that self-cleaning mode, and that's when your body refreshes and your brain flushes out a lot of the crud that's built up during the day. That's why it's so critical to get that good night's sleep, and hopefully unassisted good night's sleep, because all of those drugs that have PM in the back of them, guess what? Those would be at the top of the list for things that can fog your memory, that can make you think, oh man, I'm really, my memory's struggling and I'm having problems. It's getting too many of those PM medicines. Benadryl, those are things that, maybe once a blue moon, but you need to develop good sleep habits that can allow you to have solid, unassisted, good sleep. High cholesterol, COPD. Can't do anything about head injury as an adult. We hope none of us have that. But, these are things that hopefully we can control. And I think, to me, it's exciting, it's empowering to know why it's so important to stay on top of these numbers. And I'm gonna tell you a little secret here without divulging any names. I was meeting with a very important woman of this state. And when you're very, very, very important, even more important than y'all that are getting the private talk, if I get called to an office, I give this private talk. Sometimes it's even in Washington, D.C. And so when I was talking about all these conditions, untreated conditions, this woman told me, she goes, well, my husband has diabetes, and he's had it forever, and he totally does not treat it. He just ignores it. And she said, he's not worried about losing his feet because he's really active. And I said, well, is he worried about getting Alzheimer's or dementia? And she goes, well, I would think he would be. And I said, well, why don't you share these slides with him and see if maybe that'll get his attention. And guess what? The next time I was invited to visit with this young woman, she told me for the first time in their marriage, her husband is taking care of his diabetes. Because he was more afraid of developing Alzheimer's than he was losing his feet. So that's why I share this, is because if nothing else inspires you to take charge of your numbers, I take my blood pressure every day because I want to make sure my numbers are perfect. Now, I don't have high blood pressure. I just want to make sure I don't. And these are things that I can check. All right, we're going to let you in on the secret. Again, nag, nag, nag. Take care of medical conditions. And I also want to say this. If you go to the doctor with, say, your spouse or a parent, grandparent, loved one, and I go with my mom, and I say, I'm sorry, but you're sitting right here. I'm going to say, Mom's memory, I'm really concerned. She's different. She's not tracking things the way she used to. And I'm really worried about her. And if that doctor says, well, she's just getting on up there, you just stand up and say that's ageism, because that's exactly what it is. Because like I shared with y'all, my mother-in-law at 101, sharper, or certainly sharper than me, and most times sharper than her son. You know, that's ageism. And losing your memory, losing your ability to function is not a normal part of aging. Take action to improve your mood and lower stress. Now, what do I mean by that? Have fun. Be silly. Be spontaneous. Please be spontaneous. You know, as adults, we get very few happy surprises. Usually it's my car won't start and I'm running late, or there's a leak in the faucet, or, you know, the list goes on and on and on. Typically, as we age, those are the kind of surprises we get. So you know what I do? I manufacture surprises for myself. When I go out to dinner with my husband, and he just knows I'm going to do it, I'll narrow down, maybe this is a restaurant I've never been before. I'll narrow down the choices to maybe 1 or 2, 3 things, and I'll tell the server, I'll say, one of these things, now surprise me. Now, I know that sounds silly, but it's you know, when it comes, it's something fun, because we have to sometimes work hard for happy surprises. I will tell you one more family story that my husband just knocked it out of the park with. We were having dinner about 3 months ago. Now, we used to live in Utah, okay? So we lived in Utah for 21 years. And one of our favorite getaway trips was to go to Napa Valley. And so we were having dinner, now back to North Carolina, present time, about 3 months ago. And I was just looking at the wine list, and there were a couple of wines from Napa. And I just said, oh, Don, remember when we used to go to Napa, how much fun that was? And he went, yeah. Well, we came home. I had no idea he was doing any of this. And the next day he said, oh, by the way, I booked us 10 days in Napa. And I mean, to me, it was our anniversary, but I just got home late last night. And so I'm still on California time too. But, you know, it was just this lovely surprise. It doesn't have to be that grand a gesture, but, you know, if you have friends here, bring them flowers, pick something out of the garden, do something silly that maybe they're not expecting, and just create a lovely, spontaneous surprise for somebody. Stay connected with your family. Y'all are doing this here with your community. You're engaged. You came to hear me talk about this. I can see y'all talking with, you know, amongst each other. That's wonderful. That's huge. One of the best things about healthy aging is to stay social and just care about each other. Find doable challenges. I was with a group this morning, and they said, well, I don't like crossword puzzles. I said, then don't do crossword puzzles. Find something that you like to do. Maybe if you like to cook, find new recipes. If you want to learn a new language, I can help you with your Italian. I just still remember a tiny bit of it. I love to garden. That is my mental health. I'll never have fingernails because I like digging in the dirt. But find things that you enjoy doing. I like doing Sudoku puzzles. Those are fun. Laugh and sing as often as possible. Now, I have to confess something to y'all. I love to sing. And when I'm in my car, my backup singers, I kind of rotate through some of my backup singers, but Cher, Barbara Streisand, and Whitney Houston are my backup singers. Now, when I'm belting out something and I've got them backing me up, I sound so good. But if I sing at home without my background singers, I'm creating stress for the other people who live in my house. So that's why I just typically sing in my car. But, you know, whatever makes you happy, do these things and be silly. You know, we're too old to care about getting arrested. I am so liberated at this point. It's like, you know what? I love to talk to my younger children and, Mom, don't this, don't that. It's like, I don't care. You know, I don't care. I've been reprimanded by more important people than you. So, you know what? I have fun. And I don't ever do it at someone else's expense, but I lifestyle choices. Okay, there's the dog. So we're pretty sure that that is an Ohio license plate. I'm sure that it's not a North Carolina license plate. Now, my husband and I should not say that, my husband and I have 4 dogs and a bird. And so I do love animals, and I'm very grateful that this person, man or woman, I don't know, cares enough about their dog to give them exercise. But don't you think it would have even been better if maybe he or she had been out walking with the dog? Again, no judgment, I'm just saying, I think it could have even been a better experience if they had been out walking with the dog. Because remember, good for your body, good for your brain. So what can we do about it? Being proactive. And this is where I talk about be a champion for yourself and others. Learn as much as you can about this disease. And I have lots of information that I'm tickled to share with you. And stay engaged. Keep doing what you're doing. This is so wonderful that y'all are here. I'm so grateful that your community thought enough of you to invite us over to share this with you. And again, I'm very happy to share the slides so you can keep them forever. And I want to tell you about something else that we've got going at Wake. And it doesn't mean you have to make that journey on I-40 or park in our labyrinth of parking garages, because I am the first to tell you it was bad and it's gotten worse. So I'm just being completely honest with you. This is a program that we actually started, 5 years ago? Yeah, a little over 5 years ago. No, almost 6 years ago now. We brought the community of older adults in Winston together at our downtown library, because what I saw, I remember I'm not an MD, I'm not a PhD. What I saw was a lot of what I've shared with you, a lot of what our researchers are learning. What would happen after a study is they would write up this very impressive, academic paper, and it would get published in these most impressive academic journals, but the information never went out to people like us. And I'm an us. I want to be able to understand and benefit from the discoveries that are happening at the Sticht Center. Because remember, one of only a couple places in the country that have these 2 centers of excellence. So we brought everybody together, and we were going along that path for 2 years, and then COVID hit. And the last thing I was going to do is, and we would have almost 200 people in a room every month. And the last thing that I would ever do would be encourage and invite older adults who are at the highest risk for COVID to come together during that lockdown period. So we took it virtual. Now the premise is still the same. So we still meet on the 2nd Tuesday of every month. Now what we do now is 1 hour from 5:30 to 6:30 on the 2nd Tuesday. And I've got information up here on that. We have an educational speaker. In fact, for May, we have one of our allergy specialists who's going to be talking about dealing with allergies in North Carolina spring. And then the next month, we have a world-renowned scientist who's talking about the benefits of exercise to reducing your risk for developing Alzheimer's. And then in July, we have our chair of dermatology talking about what products work for our skin and hair and which don't. So you can see it's this completely diverse group. We have had eye specialists, podiatrists, you name it. We've had them talk. And if you tune in for the live show, and it's webinar, you can ask the speaker questions. But if 5:30 to 6:30 on the 2nd Tuesday doesn't work for you, we also send out the complete video that you can watch at your leisure. And so we have archived, I think, 42 of these programs. So you can go back and do a search by topic to see what you might be interested in, and you can go back and see all of these that we've ever done. And the best part is you watch it from the comfort of your home. You know, a lot of retirement communities would do exactly what y'all are doing right now and bring people together to watch it as a group, because it's nice you can have a discussion and certainly ask questions as a group. But it's completely up to you, and all of this is free of charge. Remember, we are paid for through our taxes. And so there's never a charge for any of these studies, any of these programs that we're doing. In addition to the educational segment, we feature local chefs who do a cooking demonstration and share a recipe. And whether you cook or not, I don't cook, my husband loves to cook. But whether you do any of the cooking, it doesn't matter, it's just interesting. And then living well and moving well is either exercise or local points of interest. And you get me because I'm still fairly new here. All of these places are still fun for me. You know, it's fun to discover new places to go. So we want to make it fun as well as educational. And again, it's totally free. And I've got a link and everything up here if you're interested. We'd love to have you join us. We now have 804 people who follow this all over the country, and also in England, Ireland, Germany, Canada, and Costa Rica. So it's providing information that what I believe we are all thirsting for. So this is our philosophy, and I'll just boil it down for you. We want to empower and help older adults achieve and live the life they want to live. We don't define that at all. We just want to give you the tools, the education, the resources that you need to live your best life. And enjoy life on your terms. So this is something that I came up with my first week here. I was at an Alzheimer's Association function, a meal, and there was a rural pastor who really gave his testimony about the Alzheimer's Association, of how it had been there to help him as his wife was struggling. And so, because I am a nerd and I own it, again, I'm 66, I don't care. You know, I'm a nerd. At a break, I could not wait to get up and shake this man's hand, because I was so excited about what I'm doing now, working in these fields. And I was shaking his hand, and he said, "Now tell me, what do you do?" I said, "I work for the Sticht Center." I said, "We deal in aging and Alzheimer's research." And he physically recoiled from me. And because I clasp both sides of my hands around your hand when we're shaking hands. So what that really meant was I just came with him. And so I said, "Tell me, why did you say that?" He said, "Research is scary." And I mean, I was so new on the job, I didn't know what to say as far as what I could have said. But I will tell you that unless you have an early diagnosis of Alzheimer's, most of our Alzheimer's research is lifestyle intervention. It's cooking, it's exercise, it's dance. But I didn't know all that then. But what I did learn was people are nervous of the word research. Now, we're not nervous when it's St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, are we? Probably all of us in this room have donated to that organization before. It feels good. They're trying to find an answer for childhood cancer. And so I'm proud of the work we're doing. We're trying to find answers for healthy body aging and for brain health. Our chair of geriatrics, I love to say this. This is his quote. I love to repeat it. There are two things that will send a person to a nursing home: when their legs don't work and when their brain doesn't work. And what we're trying to do is help people stay independent as possible, as long as you can. So this is what I came up with on a napkin. Research brings knowledge, knowledge brings answers, And only when we have the answers will there be hope for a treatment and a cure. And I was raised by the finest Southern mom that you would ever know. I'm originally from Mississippi, so I'm talking deep South. She would kill me if I forgot to say thank you. So thank you so much for your attention. And if you have any questions, if it's over my head, I'll do my best to get them answered and get back to you. But thank you so much for a very warm reception and for your attention.